Good morning, and welcome to Mountain Musings, the next episode of Husband Traits, being quick to apologize. The passage comes from Matthew chapter 5, verses 23 through 24. So if you are offering your gift at the altar, and there remember that your brother has something against you, leave your gift there before the altar, and go first be reconciled to your brother, and then come and offer your gift. Matthew 5, 23 through 24. English Standard Version. Before I start today, I'd like to take care of a couple of housekeeping issues. Number one, and perhaps most importantly, is I want to make sure that you all realize that I am not a perfect husband. These things that I talk about are not necessarily things that I do well. These are things that have been shared with me as being good traits for a husband. Now, Christy and I will have been married 40 years this July. And I like to think, and I like to think that Christy thinks as well, that we have a good marriage and I'm a good husband. But that doesn't mean I do not have some rough edges that need to be scuffed off. And so when I'm making these videos, I'm speaking to myself as well. These are all things that I very much need to do, things that I need to learn. So do not think that I'm sitting here speaking down. I'm speaking over. These are things that I find challenging. Second housekeeping issue is you all have been kind and shared a variety of things that I could do to improve. And I tremendously appreciate that. Hopefully this week's video will show some things that have been suggested. So please keep the comments coming. Help me to get better. And I'm really thinking about two different things: the content, which is most important. Hopefully, these are things that you find helpful, and the media. Working on making a better, more interesting product, which is of secondary value, but still is very important. So keep the comments coming. Keep the suggestions coming. They are things that help me very much. Now on to this week's subject, being quick to apologize. One of the challenges that I faced being a teacher was uh, always being right. You want to be right as often as possible as a teacher because you're standing up and you're telling people that the things that you say are worthwhile and that they should listen. So you want to avoid mistakes whenever possible. But despite our best efforts as a teacher, um, and this was also true in the Army as an officer, but despite our best efforts, uh, we make mistakes. There were times in which I over responded as a teacher. And being quick to say, hey, I'm sorry, I did the wrong thing, was very helpful. I found out that even though it was embarrassing to have to say, oh, I made a mistake there, my students really appreciated the fact that I was quick to apologize, and that worked well. Unfortunately, at home, that is uh, not as easy. And I've found over the years that even though it is very helpful, being quick to apologize doesn't necessarily come naturally to me. I have, hate to admit it, a stubborn, willful pride. And that pride often leads me to not want to apologize, especially when uh, it is something uh, that is kind of serious. The minor trivial things I don't mind so much, but the more serious things I find it hard. Unfortunately, that is just counterproductive to having a good marriage. Uh, a quick apology that is heartfelt and not formulaic and not serious, uh, that kind of quick apology is very helpful in maintaining good relations. It's like medicine or salve or a bandage to a wound. When I goof up, which is inevitable, make a mistake, it hurts Christy. Uh, it's something that causes her emotional pain, perhaps even spiritual pain. But if I'm quick to apologize, uh, that helps heal the wound very quickly. And that's something that I want to work on, something that I want to uh, make sure that I do. Interestingly enough, in the Matthew 5 passage, Jesus puts relationship over worship. I find it interesting that Jesus puts relationship over sacrifice or worship. Think about this for a second. He said this to a Jewish audience, and these were people who lived by the Old Testament law, and so much of the Old Testament is devoted to how to sacrifice and the importance of sacrifice and when to do it and when not to do it. I mean, it's very detailed. And yet, Jesus here in this passage, speaking to a Jewish audience, says, hey, before you offer your sacrifice, this important way of honoring God, before you offer that, go and be reconciled. Stop and think about that for a minute. It was as if he said to us, hey, before you go to church on Sunday, go be reconciled. I wonder how often I have inhibited Christie's worship and my worship by my failure to apologize, my stubborn will saying, no, I'm not going to say I'm sorry. She can say she's sorry first. Uh, I wonder how often I've made our worship more difficult simply because I didn't want to apologize. Jesus says, hey, this is important enough, but that's the first thing you do. So before I rush off to Sunday worship or a Bible study or something, I need to make sure that I have taken care of my relationship with Christy. Not only does a quick apology pave the way for worship, enable our worship to be worthwhile, it helps maintain unity in the family. Again, in Matthew chapter 12, verse 25, Jesus says, knowing their thoughts, he said to them, every kingdom divided against itself is laid waste, and no city or house divided against itself will stand. Matthew chapter 12, verse 25. Jesus reminds us that familial unity is critical. And gentlemen, this is an area where you and I need to take the lead. Our wives are depending upon us to take actions that make our house a pleasant place, that bring unity. And when you and I are quick to apologize for a wrong, we don't wait until the wound becomes festery and gross. We get in there and apologize and clean out the hurt rapidly. Uh, when we do that, we take the lead. And that's important. We set the example. We show that, hey, I can submit my pride to doing things correctly. And this is an important thing. This is something that we need to work on, something that helps maintain unity. Remember, a house divided against itself cannot stand. And we usually think of that in terms of nation or organization, but I want us to think about this in terms of family. How many marriages, how many families have been ruined by just a hard heart that says, I'm not going to apologize until she apologizes. We need to take that first step. We need to be the ones who do the right thing. So often, a quick apology is a key to maintaining familial unity and just having a happy home. But also, one of the things that it does is that it helps Christy live into what Paul says in the famous love chapter, 1 Corinthians 13. He says, it does not dishonor others, speaking of love. It is not self seeking. It is not easily angered. And here's the thing that I'm focusing on, it keeps no record of wrongs. 1 Corinthians 13:5, New International Version. When I am quick to apologize, I help Christy or my children, or anyone for that matter, but I help them live into that charge to keep no record of wrong. If I've apologized, then Christy can move on. She can move past the hurt and move into a better state and forgive and move on and keep no record of wrong. This is really an important concept. I've known marriages in which partners refuse to apologize to each other, and the marriage has collapsed under the weight of a failure to apologize or a refusal to apologize. And I'm certain we've all heard someone say, well, I'll apologize when she apologizes. Gentlemen, you and I need to be bigger than that. We need to be willing to take that first step and apologize and help our wives keep no record of wrong, because we will have applied the salve of a heartfelt apology and help our wives move forward into what it is that Christ calls us to do. One of the personal challenges I discovered being married was that my work persona, most of our married life, I was an officer in the Army. My work persona did not help at home. You see, in the Army, uh, sarcasm is considered a useful tool in redirecting soldiers. A sarcastic comment often puts them on the right path. Sarcasm does not help at home. Also, in the Army, we have a tendency to be interruptive, uh, to cut to the chase, to redirect someone in a way that is not useful at home. Very abrupt, very interruptive. So I found that my speech patterns, my way of doing business at work, while useful as a soldier, was very unhelpful in the family. And often I found myself being right in what I was trying to say, but very wrong in how I said it. And guys, we can be right and still be a jerk. And we need to work on being gentle in our speech. And until we get there, we probably have to practice apologizing for the goofy things that we say and how we say them. Because we can deliver a true message, but if we do so in a hurtful manner, the message is never heard. So, one of the things that we have to work on as husbands is how we deliver. And when we deliver badly, being quick to apologize. That's an important skill set for you and I. And it's one that I still am working on. I've learned not to be sarcastic with Christy. That just didn't help. It was hurtful. But I still tend to be interruptive because I think I know what she's going to say, and I am in a hurry and want to get there. And so I end up having to apologize for being uncareful and impatient in my speech. So we need to remember a sincere, heartfelt apology is the balm that binds up the wounds. It's the the bandage that helps us get past the inevitable mistakes, faux pas that we make in marriage. And those kinds of things can make the difference between a marriage that's just kind of getting by and a marriage that is reaching the heights of unity and of love and of joy that the Lord has called us to. So you and I need to lead the way. We need to be the first to say, I am sorry. And we need to do so honestly. And that requires swallowing pride. And I don't know about you, but I have a hard time swallowing my pride. I like to think that I'm right. I like to think that I know best. I like to think that people should listen to me, and all those things find their root in pride. I like myself more than others. So this week, as we go forward, let's work on swallowing our pride, being quick to say, I'm sorry, honey. How can I do that better? And we will find that quick apology helps move our marriage into a better place and makes our wife understand that with us, she is in a safe place, not a dangerous place. So, as always, please leave a comment, leave suggestions. Hopefully, the new way we're doing things got some different software. Hopefully, that will help. Uh, and so, feel free to make suggestions. I'm kind of sitting on the porch today because it's off and on drizzling. We're very thankful for that around here. But also, leave comments regarding the content. Is this helpful, or is this merely just so much noise in a very noisy world? So, have a good day, and I'll see you next week.